Welcome back, guys, in the video 5 of this series. So in this video we'll continue building our application. We'll build the view for the game to be played, the actual main view for this application. So let's get rid of this crap. We don't need this anymore. That's our image controller. Close this. We are not doing anything there. Now let's go to the routes.php, and we have this key game. That's resourceful route key, so game controller, it's firing up, so that's good. So the index method we'll be working upon. Before we do anything, we'll come back here, create our constructor. That takes nothing, and basically it says this malware guest, and that's it. So everyone can access our application. Now the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to query images, image. What should we do here? Like, what are we trying to do here? We're trying to pull two images randomly, and we want to display it to our view. So how can we do this? Let's just say run a query. It's going to be a custom query. We're going to order by. And how we're going to order by, we'll decide in a minute, and then we're going to get them. That's the standard query syntax. Now how we're going to order is basically we're going to run a db raw query that's going to be basically a random, and then so it's going to pick two records randomly. Db raw random is going to pick two records randomly, and then we're going to restrict it by a limit. And the limit is going to be, let's just call it a variable limit. Let's not hard code it. And here I can register that variable, and I'm going to call it 2 for now. So if there are images, let's say we're going to run a check if count of images. Oh shit. Then we want to do something. What we want to do basically is that we want to return a view which will essentially going to be pages.game. We haven't built that yet, but we will build in a minute, and we're going to be passing in this variable called images, like so. Otherwise we want to take the user back to we can say return redirect to load some images. When people click on playing game, they want to play the game, but there are no images, so we want to redirect them to images so they can upload some of the images. And sounds good. So we don't have a view here, so let's go ahead and create one, resources, and let's open up the stats view or the home view or the upload view. Let's open up the upload view, and we're going to just save it as here we can say game. So we have a view here called game, and we're going to start working and expand this view. So basically what we want to do essentially is change this title to game, and then we need a container, we need a row, and we need column. Now what we need here is this one will, at the moment, we'll just remove it, and here we'll create 3 buttons, the buttons that will give access to other pages, because once we go to game page, we cannot access other pages. So we're going to create an unordered list, and it's going to have a class of list and line, and I'm going to pull it to the right, and it's going to have li, and it's going to have 3 li's. So the first one is going to be, basically you can call it, I'm not gonna give any active class or anything. So it's gonna have an anchor tag, and that's essentially going to be so it's going to have an anchor tag that's going to point to, I'm just going to call it game, and let's call it, because right now we are on this page, I might as well give a class of active. And the next thing is I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to give it a class here. It's going to be btn small, btn green, and then I'm going to call it play a game. And how about we get rid of this through, sorry about that, and just copy them. Sometimes it's beneficial to copy and delete this class. And this one too. There can only be one active class at the moment, and we're gonna call it, why is it looking funny here slightly? Because this is how it detects Sublime. It looks a little bit funny to me. That's okay. It's actually correct syntax. And we're gonna be building stats in a minute. So in the next video or so, but we'll give it a route. We'll call it stats, or let's call it view statistics. I mean, how does it sound? And we're gonna call it orange, and we're gonna call it cyan. This can be share, and this can be you can say share. We haven't created this route yet, but we will in a minute. So that's going to be our buttons. And why not we just copy these buttons while we are here? And do we want to give these buttons to, we don't want to give these buttons to any other page but the stats page. Now if you go to stats page, you'll notice that these buttons are already there. I should have just copied from here. Sorry about that, but that's okay, we created some. So on the stats page, we can go back to other pages. On images page, we can only go to game page, because we haven't done, once we upload images, the only page we are interested in game page, because from game page we can go anywhere else. So that's okay. And this is game page, and this we can remove this class here, vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontally align. We don't need this class. Get rid of that, and we're going to give it a margin of 50 pixels from the top, and the rest looks okay to me. And we're going to get rid of all this crap. We don't need it. Now we're going to create something here. How about we just copy this div, and we end this here, and then we create a new column. So once we create a new column, we also need to close it. Okay, good. So let's run our blade templating, and we're going to say if the count of images, because we are passing in images variable, remember, is greater than equal to 2, although it's going to be always equal to 2 because that's what we're querying here, limit is 2. But just in case, you can also do this comparison between any number of images, 2, 3, 4, pick one of the 4, pick one of the 5. If you have player A 3 images and player B 3 images, 3 different images, you know, for similar profile, you can display 3. You can raise this app to, you can take this app to any level, you know, any level you want to. So you can give multiple options to the user, and he can select also multiple response. I mean, this can get really crazy, that select which one is first, second, third. I mean, that's like different possibilities, but that's okay. We keep it simple for now. So if the count of images is 2, greater than or equal to 2, we want to end this first. Here we want to do something. What do we want to do? We want to create a div. So essentially we're creating, essentially what we're creating is 2 forms. So one of the image is going to be inside one form, one of the image is going to be inside another form, and when we click one of the image, the form sends the response to the controller with the ID of that image. That's going to be the winner, and the other one is going to be the loser. And then we can run some of the algorithmic functions as we discussed in the last video, and make the database columns we can update, and that's how we detect the ranks. So I'm going to divide Bootstrap into 2 Bootstrap columns. So call lg6.call lg, call md6.call sm6.call extra small 12. And what it does, it gives me 2 columns inside this full 12 width you know, a column with 12, what do you call this, grid, 12 columns in a grid, you know, so it gives me 6 and 6. That way I can use 50% of the width, screen width, inside the container for one image, and rest of the 50% for the other image. We'll create first form, then we'll just copy and paste to create the second one. So same thing again. Oh shit. So form, and we're gonna call it open, and then what we want to do is we're gonna call a method here inside an array. It takes an array, and I'm gonna close the array here, and then the method is going to be post. Now this is really going to be basically a patch, because we are updating the values in the database. All we're running is update method, so it has to be put or patch. Now the real difference between put and patch in a layman's terms would be, when I'm trying to say put this thing in the update, means the information doesn't exist in the database in that row, so I want you to add another column or update a new set of information. It's null and put it. But patch means the information exists, I just want to change the information. I don't know if it means something else, but that's how I understand. I would like to say put means you're adding a new record or new set of information, and patch means you're editing an existing set of information. But anyway, it's going to be an action which is going to be game controller at update, and here we're going to give it an array. Action will take another argument, which is essentially going to be images. Now this is going to be the left side image, and left side image we're gonna call it as the first image, because images is basically a collection. Whenever it's a collection, you can always access the things inside the collection using images first and images last. Now there are only two images, so the first one is going to be first and the last one is going to be the second one. So first, because I can loop over this, but when I loop over, there is only two images. Why not we use first and last? Why do I have to loop? You know, loop is when unknown number of images are there. I want to loop until the loop runs, you know. But I know that it's two, so images first. Then I'm gonna say here ID. That's what we're passing in, and then here I'm gonna need some Bootstrap classes, which is again the same thing, you know, horizontal. That's how you spell it. HORI, horizontal. Sounds good. So that's our form opening tag, and let's do the close as well. And here we're gonna create a div with the class of form group, and we're gonna add an input type. Basically it's going to be hidden because we haven't specified we have to specify here an array or some kind of value. So what essentially we want to send, so every time you click this image, I'll show you in a minute what I mean. I'm going to give it a class of form control. That's all standard Bootstrap. There's nothing you need to be surprised about this. What's going on? This is all Bootstrap stuff. And ID, and it's going to have a value, and then we are going to copy this down. This is very interesting because I think this is something to pay attention to. So we have two images, and this is a collection. So we said give me the first image ID in this form, and in the next form we're going to give second image ID, which is the last image is last. Now the problem is it's a randomly generated ID. Every time it's random, there is no specific order. So when we click the first image, then it takes that ID and posts to the controller. So I can say that image is a winner. I know that because I'm posting the ID. But how do I find out who was the loser? So in order to do that, I'm gonna have to pass in these two values in a hidden field, because when we get the images variable as an array of two images, which is collection, we get in this view, we can use it to display the IDs here. So I'm going to display here. So you can click left image or right image, doesn't matter. That's going to send information which image is clicked, but also it brings in who is the winner. Winner is obviously the one that's clicked, and who is the loser. And because in this case, if someone clicks this image, then the winner is going to be this image, because someone is clicking on it. That's why this all data will be submitted. So I'm going to call it images first and ID, images first ID, and then I'm going to just copy this and go here, and I'm going to call it last. How simple is that? Because when I submit this image, when I click on this image, I know this image is the winner, so ID is going to be the winner name input field is going to have this ID, and also it's going to have the value, which is going to be the same value, basically the ID, and it's going to have the value of last. That's all. I mean, it is to this thing. There's nothing else. So that's all you have to figure out. That's all you have to think about. And in the right side image is going to be, we will be submitting the last ID, which makes complete sense. If you click on that image, you want to submit the last ID. So the winner is going to be image's last ID, because when you submit that image is winner. So the winner will be that, and loser will be this. But if I don't have these two fields, I'm only submitting this one, which is the ID of the image being clicked. I don't know who's the loser. In the controller has no idea what are the two images that's being posted. And if I try to pass these values in the constructor, every time I submit to the class, if I run update method after index method has already run, now index method will give the images, you submit, you click on the image, it runs the update method, which means it's going to run the constructor again, which means it's going to query again, and the images will change. So we have to display these two input hidden fields so we can grab them when we post. And now we need to display the images. So I'm going to create a div. I'm going to give it an ID of left because we're going to be writing some script. And then give it a class of animated and bounce in left, and then I'm gonna create an anchor tag. That's just, anchor tag is not gonna post anywhere, and it will have a class. I'm gonna call it pick option. We'll have to write some jQuery to target this class, and we need to target this ID as well. So then we can write some custom classes here. We have a custom class in our CSS. You would have no idea about this, but I know because I created them. So that's basically what does the hover. When I hover on the image, it's going to bring some data about this from this collection. What's the current ranking? What's the current number of wins and losses? So view first. It's already been set for you in the CSS. If you use these classes, it'll all come handy. And then the source is going to be essentially, we need to give the source from the assets. In the asset, we have img, we have models, and then we want to append. This is going to be the left image, so we're going to say image first, and then we're going to say here file name, like so. That's going to be the image, and I'm going to give it a width of 600 pixels and a class of img responsive, and that looks beautiful to me. Then I'm going to create another class called masking. Sorry, this mask. It's called a mask because it's gonna color up, you know. And then I'm gonna use an anchor tag, an h2 tag. I'm gonna call it rank, which is going to be essentially the rank of the first image. Whatever is the rank right now, if it's 0, so be it. And then I'm gonna create a paragraph tag. I'm gonna create a paragraph with a lead, class lead, and we're gonna say her bio is this. You can say whatever you wanna say here. Look at my profile, look at my bio, or something, whatever. And then I'm gonna create a table with a class of table, and I'm gonna use a class here, bg inherit, which basically inherits the background. That's a custom class, but it's already been set for you. So if you use this class, it'll start coming together, you know. So bg inherit, all it does is if table class has any background of white or something, whatever background is set in table, it's going to make it transparent, and basically it's going to inherit the background of the image. That way your table will be transparent and it'll be placed over the image, so the mask will work properly. Just use it. I always find this learning CSS and working on the CSS consumes a lot of time. That's why I gave you the CSS, so you can really focus on the backend stuff and algorithm and stuff. CSS consumes a lot of time, and I don't like to make videos with unfinished business unless the stuff needs to be always done, you know, properly. Let it be a prototype, let it be something else, because I'm gonna look at it, I'm gonna create it, and I'm gonna look at it every day. Why not I make it pretty? Anyway, so let's give it a span of 120, and here what we want to display, we're going to display a couple of information in this row, table row. The information is essentially going to be I made a mistake here, and the mistake is we have to add a table data field, and here I keep doing typing mistakes. Well, what we want to display is how many games it has won, and I'm gonna say so images first one wins. Is it wins? That's what we call it in the database, I suppose so. Yeah, that's correct. Let's just copy it down, this whole row. Let's just call it 4 times. Here I'm gonna call lost, and here is losses, I think, and I'm gonna call here score, and that's gonna be score. And this is going to be expectation. Now expectation, right now we don't have any value here because in the database we're not storing any value, so we're gonna have to create a new variable in our game controller here, and we're gonna run expected method statically. We'll do that in a minute. Let's just focus on something else, and we can comment out this line for now. We'll come back to that in a minute. And the next thing we want to do is basically add another form, but before we do that, why not we go back and we refresh our page, because this will be gone, and then we start playing the game and we see what is presented to us. I'm happy that everything is going well so far. So if you open Chrome, the CSS will work for the Chrome, and you will see not surprisingly big image, but a fairly good size image, 600 width. But if you open Firefox, you may see massively big image. You can add some CSS rules, target Mozilla, and make it look pretty. These buttons are right here, and they will help us out in navigation. Don't worry about that too much. It's just to switch between pages. We only have 2-3 pages. So this is working, the CSS is working, the data is here, the rank is 0, the masking is working, and every time if you refresh, the image is gonna change. Every time a new image will come. Isn't it good? Just in a matter of few videos, we built almost a finished look application, you know. So okay, good. Let's go back to our editor, and the next thing we want to do is basically create another form so we can like so, and here. So this is the div. So if you go here, basically this is the left div. If you copy that, and or actually not this one, sorry, this whole div, this div which is the column, we can copy that up to here just before the end if, because we started our if statement just before this column, and then we can add a carriage return, and then we can paste that. It's going to be a patch method, it's going to be update, it's going to be last, image last, and it's going to be winner is going to be this particular image, because we're talking about this image in this set of this side of the web page and this form. So when I click on this form, this image is the winner, so that's going to be the last, and that's going to be the first. The loser is going to be the first. And then of course the values I can change as well. And then the next thing is here, it's going to be last file name, and make sure to make this ID right, because it's an ID. If you don't change it, it's gonna conflict with the jQuery. So ID is right, animated bounce in, make it right, because it's gonna bounce in from the right. It's all coming in together now. I hope you're picking up, because it's all good now. Sounds pretty good, you know. And then it's going to be last image, last rank, and her bio is this, and then I'm gonna say last, and last, and last, and save it. So once you save it, you can go back here and refresh. It should give you two images coming from left and right. So right now, as you can see, there's a little bit of gap here. We're gonna have to fix that in a minute. But as I hover, it gives me the data, and don't try to click it, because once you click it, it won't do anything. There's no update method right now. There's no code in the update method, but all we want to do is refresh, and it should give us two images every time, two different images, which is pretty good. Let's right click outside on the web page and click on view page source. Let's see what we see in the form. So we have a form with a method of post, and it's posting to game with an ID. It's passing along an ID of the image 52, and this image has an ID of 26. So these are the two images. Now 52 image, if I click, is going to be the winner. So winner is going to be 52 with a value of 52, and the loser, I want to know the loser is going to be the opposite, which is 26. In this case, 26 is the winner and the 52 is the loser. So this way, both the forms are individual forms. You can click one of them, but you're passing along both the information about both the images. Now every time I refresh, these values are going to change, and of course they are randomly picked, so it's pretty good. Of course, this random method, you can put some constraint in this method that this random can be recorded somewhere. So if it has competed against the other image, run it again. The shuffle has to be really unique shuffle, at least 71 to the power of 71 times, 71 images as a base to the raised to the power of 71. So that's going to be, I don't know how many million, but anyway, that's something we can look at in the future videos. But that's our view, and of course we need to display the top 10 images, and we also need to work on this expectation. But for now, if you can really get onto this stage, then in the next video we'll start submitting these. We'll start working on the update method, which will take the input from the images and then process the image using the game algorithm, this algorithm, and then we can update the database, and then we can also look at this expectation, because once we are working with algorithms, we can come back and look at this expectation, and we can start building data in the database. Once the data is there, we can get top 10 images and start putting them here under under the main images. So top 10 images can come here, and once we have some images, some database, we can go to view statistics. And actually I'm actually surprised view statistics should already be working. It says not found, because if I just add this route, because you know what, I gave you this stats.blade page, so the page is already there, and all it requires is images, just an all images array. So it should be pretty quick. Let's finish it up before we say goodbye. I'm going to add a route here, images slash stats, and that's gonna be @stats. I hope that's how we're gonna do, right? We're gonna add a new route, images slash stats, and this is the method that's gonna take care of it, but it must come before the resource for routing. And let's go to our images controller, and here we're gonna go far bottom, and we're gonna create a new method called stats. It does not take anything. All it does is give me all the images, and with that in mind, we want to serve that view, return view. We are serving pages.stats, and we are passing along this this variable, this collection. And believe it or not, that's it. We don't need to do anything else. Now if I go and click view stats, I get all the images in the database, and with all of their winning and loss and scores, and of course these images haven't been compared against each other. It's just blank data right now, but that's a good thing. I gave you this view, so it saved us some time. There was nothing interesting we were gonna do. We were just gonna display this, so I saved a little bit of time there. The main action is in the play game area, and today we made a really good progress. We were able to see the images for the first time randomly, and that's very good thing. And the next thing is how to use algorithm, how to take this input to the controller method, how to bind it together, how to fire that, and then how to play with the algorithm and update the data in the database. That's what we're going to do in the next video. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.